All right, y'all, let's get into Jesus and his work on the cross, okay? Because I hear these pastors filled with hate teaching that Jesus did not come for these certain types of people and whatever else, okay? Now, when we are born again, we are no longer sinners in the spirit, okay? We are then God-men, and we can do anything we want in this world. It is a carnal man that is judging man and telling them that they are the sinners. This is why Jesus said to them when they asked, who was it that sinned? The man who was blind or his parents? And he says, they haven't sinned. And he tells them, you can't convince me of sin. And they said, this man can't be God or the Son of God because he hasn't respected the Sabbath. He's showing them to be born again in the Spirit. Jesus died on the cross. His blood covers everyone's sins, past, present, and future. Okay? This is why you don't need to repent of sins, so-called, as turn. Okay? The earth is an energetic frequency, and it needs you to grieve the things that you think is wrong. Okay? So, the law was established by Moses, his father-in-law, and Yahweh. All these different gods, like Yahweh, that's a man, okay? Once you start to understand that God is formed of the us and our, okay, we are God. We are broken up fragments of God and broken up fragments of the light. And Jesus was that one light and one man. And with the cross, there's a beam going up and down, and there is a beam going left and right. And Jesus did not come for the right or the left. He came for the center. And the center is the person that the church is saying, oh, Jesus didn't die for you. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. This is right. This is right. Don't you read that book? That's occultic. Don't you listen to that music? Don't you watch that TV? Blah, 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 blah. All these fucking rules. I don't think so, y'all. You can't convince me of your sins. That's why I don't have to go to your churches. That's why I don't have to pay your pastors who are wearing that noose around their neck that are all going to get hung by it when the church actually wakes up and figures out what the hell is going on. They said to Jesus, can't be Jesus, he's coming of the thieves and of the robbers. That's the vagabonds and fugitives I told you of Cain. It's exact opposite of what everybody is thinking. The spiritual light is not the carnal light. The church going after the appearances, looking after the signs, they're all looking after the carnal light. It's that simple, folks. The Jews today are scattered among all nations. That physical nation of Israel, that's for the carnal people. Okay? That's for the Jew. The you. And everybody is looking towards that, and it's never going to happen because that's a proxy state of the spiritual Israel, which is America. America is Israel. We are the land of Judea. We are where the armies are gathering against. We are the mystery Babylon. But they want you to keep blinded, and you're blinded by that light because you're giving over to the world's light. You're giving over to that TV. No, there's nothing wrong with watching TV as long as you're thinking about what you're watching. Okay? There's a time to veg out, and it's when you're staring at the clouds or nature or the sun or whatever else, the fire. It's not a time to veg out when you're watching TV. You got to think about what they're programming society, because the TV the news, all these work together. The man you vote for, they all work together to control society. And the TV, media, the news, all that creates the culture. The culture doesn't create the news creates the culture. There's never any fear of kidnappers before 1980s. And then you had the Adam Adam, of course, bringing in a new time of man, of all this so-called hell on earth to bring in this new system, okay? The kidnapping is wrong. However, one example of where the people have forsaken their law is they think kidnapping is wrong unless the state does it. Okay, then you get your foster parents, and then you get your child abuse going up even more, and you're taking the Jesus said to leave the child with their parent. All right, it doesn't matter their problem. The child is better off with their parent than any other person out there. Okay, just because y'all need to understand that we are all children of God. We are all children of that light, and that light is getting what that light needs to grow up. Okay, and everybody has a purpose. And because someone is born blind or retarded or whatever the case may be, that's the same as somebody being born into an abusive home or whichever, okay? I'm not promoting any of those types of things. I'm trying to lay out the hypocrisy of our society, because our society is built on evil intentions. And if you have that foster care and the government is able to take the kids away, then they can spend the money and grab the money and create all these charities and blah, blah, blah. Okay? The chair, right, T. I did not come for the right. Jesus said, all these things that Christians are given over to, it's all wicked to Jesus. Okay? Jesus came, he was the up and down part of the cross. Going from hell to heaven. Going from the ground to the air. All right? The left and right doesn't exist without the up and down. The up and down's the good and evil. The left and right, it's not based on anything. It's based on however you're being controlled in society. And we're being shown in society now how the good is becoming bad, and it's happened over a transition of time. And in the 80s, we see that happening a lot because we're going into that new time, and that's when you started seeing like wicked being used for something good, or it might have went before that, but either way, we started seeing like badass trick kind of things, okay? I'm sure that even went back to the 70s. I was born in the 70s, so I'm sure the 80s came off the 70s because the 70s was a spiritual enlightenment era, okay? And this all rode off the coat winds of the frequency change of earth when the King Spirit came on and started moving men. Shake, rattle, and roll. There's an earthquake going on. So this is where Elvis, the King Spirit, moving all men, showing men they can do whatever they want to do and go against the church. He was a man of God, but yet he was also doing the vagabond and fugitive kind of lifestyle and all those types of things, folks. Okay? It's all laid out there for you in the Bible, in the world, all that, okay? Because men are regaining their godhood, and we're regaining it in a spiritual essence, and we're going into that spiritual time of man, all right? So while there is the law, okay, 10 Commandments doesn't have anything about cross-dressing, or whatever, at any point in time, okay, you have a dress slack. All right, all these pastors that are wearing dress slacks have conditioned the society, have conditioned the boys coming up to wear dress. Okay, you went from a jean or a pant to a dress slack. All right, it's just like the preachers today teaching hate against the rainbow community. They are planting seeds for the seeds to grow into beautiful rainbows. And it's happening right in the fundamental heart of the so-called Christians, okay? But as we have found out, the more Christian or fundamental a church is, the more satanic it is, okay? If they are gathering tithes, it is satanic. You are giving countenance. You're paying that man to tell you how to live your life, to give you guilt. Be a fisher of men. You can either catch men by the mouth, catch and release, or you can catch them by the gill, where they can't breathe anymore, and they end up dying. So you got to end up eating them, and that's where you have the wolves in sheep's clothing, and they wear their wool suits, and all these things right there in front of you to tell you who these men are. It's catch and release with men. It's not catch them by the gill, make them feel guilty, where they can't breathe. I can't believe I did it. You know, we've all suffered from their bullshit, all right? We've all fallen subject to their bullshit. But coming back to my foundations that I grew up with, Jesus' blood covers all sins, and we are not sinners in spirit. We are sinners according to the flesh. And James' book, where it's a lot twisted, that's written from one man's perspective, looking at another man's perspective. Okay, so as godly men or whatever, in order to have other godly men, so-called spiritual men, that are trapped in the dark waters, you have to present yourself as one of them. You have to be cloaked, okay? Once you are cloaked, then you can come in and you start casting out some feed so the fish can come up and start eating, and everything's nice. There's no guilty work, okay? And then eventually you can put some other type of bait out there with a hook on it, okay? And then once that hook's on there and they snag it, you can start having a conversation with them, and then the conversation is back and forth. When you're catching a fish, there's some fight in it, right? There's some play in it, some fight. Some fish are harder than others, whichever, right? And if you're fighting a catfish, a lot of times it's a lot more. That's the bottom dwellers that eat on other people's fecal matter. That fecal matter is the people calling you out for all the shit that they do, because all these pastors all live in their own sin. And that's why Jesus said, cast the first stone if you're not the sinner, because you're all sinners. So let's quit being hypocrites and quit looking down on people and quit saying Jesus didn't die for this sin, but he died for this sin. No, he died for all sins. We can do all things through Christ. We can do all things through Jesus. I'm so tired of these pastors today, dude. The more you think about it, and the more you know how much they're deceiving men, their jobs are limited. And they're going to be, once they hear these types of messages, they're going to be scrambling. And I already see some of them trying to scramble now, trying to twist the things that I'm saying. One of them's even calling himself Jesus, and it's all kinds of weird shit going on. So, we are all Jesus, not just one of us, all of us. Okay? We either got the light Jesus or the dark Jesus. I'm going to end it because of time.